Afternoon, everybody, and welcome from All Saints Church in Southbourne. Southbourne is a town borough right next to Folkestone and Boscombe, so I've extended my little walks by just a couple of 100 yards, and of course no longer do I do that, and I come across yet more of these. How's everyone doing? I hope everybody's faring well. I hope you've all had a good, productive, serene, healthy, sane week hitherto. The weather is kind of sort of brought a bit of cloud cover with it recently. The last few days been very, very hot for this time of year in this country. I suffered some pretty bad sunburn, so today's the first day that I've actually been feeling alright, because it seemed to have affected me differently as well. It wasn't just the fact that I felt burnt, but I don't know, I didn't feel very well either. But anyway, that seems to be alright now, ish. So I thought I'd go for a little walk, because I had to come to Southbourne anyway just to sort something out. And lo and behold, from a distance, of course, I see this. And when I say from a distance, that's in today's days when you have buildings in the way and all that sort of stuff. Can you imagine how this monster would have looked when none of this here was around? None of these houses, none of these roads, none of these cars, none of this electricity, nothing. None of this would have been here. Right? When these things here were built. Now, I've never looked at this church. As you can see on first view, it's made of stone and such like. But we're going to go and have a little walk inside. I've had a little recce just to see, and I have found one or two things that you're going to find in all of these sorts of buildings, interestingly enough. So when you come onto the front area here, well, the bit that's exposed to the main road, of course, and the first thing you'll notice are entrances here that look distinctly different to the rest of the church in terms of, I say church, building, right? And I say that for a reason, because I really do believe that these were not made for the purpose of churches originally at all. Right, but anyway, you can see the difference here in the colour and the wearing and all that sort of stuff. And it's something that myself and Trinity 4 did when we went through Bournemouth a few weeks ago, and we took a closer look at some of the buildings that looked very, very old worldy, and we realised that there actually a lot of it was cladding and facading. Well, the same goes for here. So if you go here and you rub against that, look at that. See that? See how that comes away? Right? That is not the way you're going to build your buildings to have them last a long time. So long, in fact, that certain events that clearly have taken place since the build of these buildings aren't even mentioned in our history books, and if they are, they're mentioned in different ways, biblically or otherwise, right? In a way that you can't possibly prove or whatever. But there you go. So you can see that on the front there. That's a good example of how when you rub against it with your thumb, it just breaks away. Clearly facading, clearly added after the fact. And then if that's the case, you'd probably have to say the same for pretty much a lot of this here. All right. But anyway, so we're here on the highest level, if you like. I was looking for a stick before to sort of demonstrate it better on the camera rather than put my hand in the way, but couldn't find one, but it doesn't matter. So as you can see here, everything looks relatively level there. I'm just highlighting some points here because this is important for people who are watching these videos and aren't aware of this sort of stuff, or maybe don't know what to look out for. I'm not trying to preach to the choir. I'm not trying to talk within an echo chamber. This is in the hope that somebody who watches it for the first time, like my daughter or whoever, will click on to things and maybe take a closer look in the future. That's what this for me is about. And so, just whilst digressing there, if you take a look now, the level is starting to drop, right? Don't forget, I'm stood on asphalt, right? This stuff wasn't around then. Okay, so this is all, you know, This goes down many, many more layers where I'm stood on right now. And you can see it there underneath. Right, so if you look at that. If we go around here, the add-ons continue. Right, let's have a look over here. Go over here with your thumb. Look at that. Look how that breaks away. There we go. I can get it in view better. Right. Not how these things were built originally. Absolutely not. Added on. This has been added on. The stairs, because of course they had to somehow make the levels work, didn't they? So when the ground has clearly come up, and then it's been built upon as well, because it has, by sheer fact that there's asphalt on the top of it, tarmac, right? And then you, of course, you have things like this here where they've added to an already existing building. In the middle of, I have to say, normal roads and streets, not even a shop nearby. Right. Anyway, follow this down and you'll notice the ground level changing even more drastically. So we'll come around here. Evidence of red coloured brick there, if you notice. And again here as well. Look at that. See that there? And here as well. And that of course goes further down into the ground, because as we swing round, then we have more evidence of add-ons by way, of course, of the stairs and the entrance here that clearly has a different colour and texture. So it all looks relatively new by comparison to, let's say, a church that's dated 1,000 years or whatever, right? Officially. All right, we continue to go down here, and I'm on a slope now, a downward slope. Walking down. All right, so there we go. So there's the level there that I just came from, to the right there. I'll take a step back here. This is one wing of this church, if you like. And the levels continue to drop as we swing round the building. So if you look there right ahead, kind of your horizontal line, if you like, you follow that round, and then to the left there, that building there where you can see the brickwork or the rock work or whatever you want to call it, is distinctly different to the right of those double doors, those brown double doors. That's clearly been added on, as has the gangway, the ramp with the cones on. And of course, like I said, because of all the asphalt and tarmac, that's all been built on as well next to the grass here. But of course that goes further down. The church or building continues in front of me and goes down that hill, right? But if we come back to the main body of the building, you have this here that I told you about. You have this bit here in front, plus like a almost like a Victorian style workhouse kind of building with a weird chimney to the left of that, and then behind it you have what appears to be the main original, and I'll say that very tentatively because the windows there and the frames of the windows look just as, how can I say, cladding-esque, let's say, as the ones I just looked at and rubbed against with my thumb, right? So there's a lots of bits and bobs have been done here over the course of time. Now, I don't have any background information of this building at all, just like the other building that I did a video on a few days ago, that's just around this corner, by the way. I'd have to have a look and maybe just challenge the official narrative. But what we're really only doing is looking at buildings and looking at the impossibility of them having been built in a time that we're told, with the methods at our disposal that we're told we had, with the non-existing logistic capabilities, the non-existing actual built-out transport networks that were required, the non-existent populations from which you would have to draw from that pool for your expertise. You'd need a sizable population, you'd need sizable expertise, and, you know, never mind all the equipment that you'd have to use and the technology that would be involved, etc., etc. So there's lots and lots of things. And to reiterate the point I made a while back as well, you know, like I said at the beginning of this video, I've only walked a couple of 100 yards. I'm now in Southbourne. So I've extended the radius by another couple of 100 yards. So we're not even within a mile's radius. And that is now 12, 13 churches at least of this size, roughly, for an area that didn't have a population of higher than 900 at the end of the 1800s. Anyway, so we'll continue down here. Oh yes, and by the way, another thing to a good thing to keep an eye out on, if you can, is when you see things like grids and stuff, bits fenced off, like in the corner here, for example. Sometimes, unfortunately, here we can't see it because it's actually blocked off with metal sheeting, but often there are grids and you can look down them and then you'll see the evidence of brickwork down below the surface, clearly kind of revealing what they're concealing, really. They would say that it's a touch-up job, that it's necessary to protect the bricks because they're old, whatever, blah blah, but no, I think it's a bit more to it than that. Anyway, so, and as we come down here, there's me walking down a hill. That's where that piping is going up there. That's a good 6 feet below my feet down there, and another few feet beyond that as well. And then this, I find this quite interesting. This is clearly, well, I say clearly, now you have a totally different style that I've seen a lot in Germany actually, and they were built in the 50s. It's kind of Art Deco, if you like, sort of church Art Deco, if there's such a thing. I don't know what the word for that would be, but it looks like a particular kind of architecture that is relatively modern. So they've obviously added this on. This is not part of any old construction in that sense. But then, and that's what kind of gives the cladding away, because they have the identical cladding in this newer construction here as they do next to it in the part that's supposed to look old. Well, that is giving that away, because this is all new, this bit. Right, anyway, and then we'll go down here, round the corner, and down some steps. It's all very tidy and neat. For a large building, it doesn't have very large grounds. I mean, there's the road right there, and then you've got shrubbery, and then straight away you're right in front of this building. Right, so if you go walk around here, I've just got here to just literally half an hour, 45 minutes ago, so I'm kind of discovering with you, as it were. But yeah, you can't see much there. I'll put my camera over. Well, there you go, there's the back end of the building. You know, it's a big old building. This part there, this is what I said a while back in Christchurch. The bits that look old aren't old. Right? The real stuff that was made to last, you ain't going to be able to crumble that away with your thumb, like I was doing earlier. They've even got protective covering over the openings of the church, where your windows would be. That's plastic covering there, just behind that tree. You can't maybe see it from here properly, maybe. But anyway, that's plastic covering there behind the tree on the face of that window, in that window frame. But anywho, yeah. So all this neat and tidy stuff, the concrete at the bottom there and everything else, that's all relatively new. But of course, the main thing there, that isn't, the one beyond that tree. So we'll go around the front again, and I'll take a step back, and we'll get a better view of the construction from a totally different angle. But it's a classic one of, you know, add-on after add-on after add-on, and then you end up quite literally losing track of what started when and where and all that, you know. I'm sure that's part of the method, you know, intention, I mean, of that method. There we go. So there's the church there, a rather large one. I did have a look to see if I could go in earlier, but unfortunately the doors were closed. So yes, it's very strange that you have parts of it that look added on and newer, I should say, but then other parts of it that look really old, but they're part of the bits that look added on, and it's just really weird. It's like it's what Trinity and I saw at the college. You know, you had older looking bits that were clearly older that were outside of the cladding, which is really weird. And it seems like they've done the same here as well. That's not Antiquitect, that is actually a flagpole. But yeah, interesting nevertheless. I'm just going to see if there's any dates on these gutters, because sometimes they have a date on there to sort of indicate when that part of the building was built. I'll have a look. If there is one, then good, and if not, then fine. No, there isn't. But there's your imagery on the gutter, though. The Tudor Rose, that is, in the middle. And if that's the case, well, that would go back to, according to the history books, the 1500s. So, yeah, make of that what you will. I have my opinions on that. I don't believe that is the case at all. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring you that out here. You can see it better. So they've got some plastic covering on the windows. So they've left the glass in, but they've added then perspex over the top and screwed it into the walls. For protective purposes, I guess. Interesting nevertheless. Yeah. And here we have it again right in front of us as well. It's a very strange one. You've got the new mixed in with the old here. No doubt about that for me. Which is easy enough to do, isn't it? I suppose. Once the original old structure is already standing. You know, how would we know? We're sure as hell ain't going to have any photographic evidence of it. That's for sure. You don't even have photographic evidence of the Westminster Palace, the Houses of Parliament in London, being built. Never mind all these churches dotted around all over the place, in amongst little boroughs of big towns, and you're like, okay, didn't know that was here. Oh yeah. Interesting. There we go. I thought I'd just bring that to you, just to sort of again, just really make a point and highlight the fact that, you know, like I keep saying, these are everywhere. These buildings, you know, our hidden history, as it were, is exceedingly tangible. It's right there in front of us, and it's something that we can all go and question. We can all go and have a look. We can all notice the prism lights and take a few photos and ask questions. You know, share it with people and sort of ask them, what do you think of this? Would you build a basement with a window in the wall, even though the ground level comes up above that window that's in your wall of the base? No, you wouldn't. So what's happened there? Oh, they raised the roads. Well, okay. How does that explain all the other ground that's been lifted up away from the roads, you know, etc., etc.? There's lots and lots of things to think about and question when it comes to this topic. I'm by no means an expert, but what I can do is go out and have a look at a building, just basically point my camera at it, film it, tell you anything I can see that I notice, and the rest you can sort of notice and kind of think about, you know, in your own ways, with your own backgrounds and your own knowledge, probably far greater than mine, right? Anyway, there we go. I thought I would just bring that to you. An interesting one, a very large building, you know, I mean, it is. No doubt about that. Built in a time, was probably, where we wouldn't have many people living here at all. So there we have it. So that's my little video for today. I needed to get out anyway, so I thought I'd combine the two. So anyway, I hope you all have a good weekend. Only a few weeks ago now until the UK Globe Light Tour 2022 kicks off in Plymouth on the 11th of July. So hopefully, I hope some of you can get involved with that a little bit, and you know, and follow us on that. I know a few people are going to be meeting us at various destinations when we go crisscrossing across the country. You know, so obviously that goes for the Brits more than anyone else. Yeah, please do feel free to leave comments on my video regarding that topic, and I'll get in touch with you. I do have a Facebook account as well. You can find me on Twitter as well, not Twitter, sorry, on Instagram under Sven Pille, my name. It's one word, all lowercase. Yeah, so I'm definitely reachable, and we can communicate any options we may have. All right, so from a pleasant, slightly windy, mild but not too hot Southbourne, borough of Bournemouth on the south coast of England, I hope you all enjoy the upcoming weekend. I hope you all take it easy. Look after yourselves, stay sane and all that, and we'll speak again very soon. I just also, before I go, I wanted to say a big thank you to Karen and Mickey from the SAMFU channel. We did a little experimental thing a few days ago whereby Karen literally put out our message conversations that we had on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, as a hangout. There's over an hour's worth there, and it's, yeah, there's some interesting points being made. So that might be worth checking out as well if you want to check out our channel, SAMFU, Sun and Moon Family United. Yeah. Okie dokie. So on that note, I will bid you all farewell. I shall see you all soon, and some of yous sooner. Ta-ta for now.